Alright, we're going to start our experience with Animate, which is the remake of Flash. And it is for, strangely enough, animation. And we are going to do ActionScript 3 type animation. So when you open and want to do a new project, you want to click on ActionScript 3 and then do a save. Now, I have a folder called My Stuff, which is all of the things that I'm doing, but I want to have a new folder for this project. So we're going to call it project1. And so now inside project1, we will do, we're going to call this drawing as our first experience. Now it says hide extension. If I don't, we are now creating an FLA file, which is effectively a Flash file. When we run the actual animation, we're going to get an SWF file. So hang on and watch for that. All right. Since this is an Adobe product, parts of this should look familiar to you. You have a tool set down the side, and you have a selection tool, a sub-selection tool, a free transform tool. I'm going to skip over that. A lasso, you have pen, you have text, line, rectangle, oval, and polystar. And we'll deal with that in a moment. And then there are other things we'll deal with later. So for drawing, look at some of the tools and what can I do with them. On the timeline, each one of these little rectangles represents a frame in the animation. And we're going to find that there are two kinds of frames. There is, let's see, if I go out to 25 and insert into the timeline a frame, then everything from 1 to 25 is now an active frame. It's got nothing in it at the moment. They're empty. But there's nothing there. I have what's called a keyframe here. And if you look, the circle is empty because there's nothing on the screen. A keyframe is generally where the content changes. And so if I get a rectangle and I draw out a rectangle and then come back and get my selection tool again, you'll notice that there is a keyframe here, and every frame after this has got that same rectangle. So I got the rectangle in my keyframe, and then every other frame holds that. Now, I can double click on this frame, and now I can call it rectangle. And I can down here add a new layer, and I can put circle. And so if I get the circle and I click here, and now I draw the circle. Now, not surprisingly, the circle layer is above the rectangle, and so if I select this and put it on, notice that it goes on top of the rectangle. Now, if I want it to be the rectangle on top, I can select this layer and drag it below. And now, notice that it goes underneath the rectangle. So that should be no surprise, because that's exactly the same kind of behavior that we saw in Photoshop. Whichever layer is on top will cover up whatever is underneath. At this point, that doesn't make a whole lot of difference. We'll see where it will in a moment. Now, circle is now selected. When I add a new layer, it goes above the circle layer. If I ever want to get rid of a layer, I can drag it to the trash and it goes away. If I want my new layer to be the topmost layer, select rectangle. Whoops, let's get out of there. Select the rectangle layer and then click, and layer 4 goes up above, and we'll call this poly. Then we're going to call it poly because I'm going to choose the polygon tool, and this says, actually it's called the poly star, excuse me. And if I look at options, I can either have a polygon or a star, and I can change the number of sides. And so if I do, say, 8 sides and a star and go OK, and let's get a new color. All right, now I got a new color, and it turns out that I need 2 different colors. I need, wait a minute, double click. I need a stroke and I need a fill. Stroke is the line around the outside, and fill is the color on the inside. So that if, there we go, I choose red, and notice that you can see as you go along what's going to happen as you change the colors. So let's have a blue, and then I can change how thick that is so that all of a sudden I get mush for all intents and purposes. So you can get any size you want. Now let us click off of that, and notice that as I come in on this, that I get that, and now I can do strange and bizarre things with that piece of the line. And I can come in, and let's see, let's come in down here. And there we go. Now you get the semicircle, and that means that I can sort of bulge that out, and the V says I'm going to grab hold of the tip. So now I can have a shooting star. What the heck? All right. So those are things that you can do while you're drawing. If I choose the circle, again, as I come in, I get that, and I can, again, do all kinds of things. I can get a swoosh. And if I don't like it, I can do edit, undo the reshape, or Command Z, or on a PC it would be Control Z, and we get that back again. Notice that coming in, I'm now gonna watch down here as I go between these. If I come up on the circle and click, the circle layer gets selected. If I come up next to the polygon layer gets selected. So you have to be careful. One of the things you can do to make sure you don't select the wrong item is to lock all of the layers and only unlock the layer you want to work with. And now I can come in and pull out that, or pull out the edge. And then with 2 Control Z or Command Z's, I come back to the beginning. Okay, so those are the 3 major shapes. I can also have a line tool. So one of my favorite things to draw, let's add a new layer and call this person. And now you're about to experience how badly I draw. So I'm going to lock everything, and I'm going to select the keyframe. I'm going to select the oval tool, and I'm going to, one of the things you also have to watch out for, I single clicked, and that just selects the middle, the fill portion, so Command Z. If I want to select everything, I either double click, and you can see the dots on both the inner and outer, or I can drag a rectangle around this. All right, by selecting that, I can now change the stroke size down to 1, which is more like what I want. And now I'm going to have a blue line, and I'm going to bump this up to 3, and I have no idea why other than it sounds like a nice number. And I'm going to make a stick figure. All right, so I have a stick figure. The problem is that if I select the circle, each part is now individual. There is not a person. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different items. At least I believe that's true. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. But what I can do is highlight this whole thing and go up to Modify and Group. And now I have an object, and if I use my arrow keys, and if I hold down the Shift and use the arrow key, I can move this person wherever I want. All right, starting over again. I've got my person, but he has no face, or she, depending on how you feel about your stick person. I'd like to put a face on this, but I have a problem. I've got a red line, and I want to put a red line in here for the mouth. Notice nothing happens. And the reason for that is the mouth went behind. So let's pull this back. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to magnify everything. So there's my person. Now, having selected the person, I'm going to modify and I'm going to ungroup it so that all the pieces parts are separate. And now I can add my mouth. And I would like for the mouth, he says, to be a smile. And I can add a nose. Oh, that was a strange nose. This poor guy got... Let's see if we can use the sub-selection tool. There, that's better. And then I can get a nose. And now I'd like a couple of eyes. Okay, in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to not have a stroke. I'm not going to have a line around the outside. So I got rid of the stroke, and keeping with the blue, I'm going to have a blue-eyed person. So I'm going to put in an eye, and if I edit, copy, and now what I can do is paste in place, which doesn't look like anything until I click on it. Whoa. That wasn't good. All right, edit, paste in center. There we go. And notice that the lines are helping me line everything up. Now, coming back to 100 to see if I can find where my eye went. Nope. So now I'm going to select everything. Modify and group, and now I've got my person, and my person has a smile, a nose, and 2 eyes. And you can do anything else you want. All right, one of the things we're going to want to do is make both the star and the person move around, but that will be the next experience. So there you go. We used the circle tool, the rectangle tool, the poly star tool, and then we made a stick figure and grouped all of the parts together.